I'm gonna document for you.
All right, this is episode number 11 of Young Entrepreneurs with
Emily Eldh.
episode 9. Episode 9 got launched on Wednesday at 5. So I've already looked at the analytics and it's done 3 plays, and then I had to update my RSS feed so that the cover work from Spotify matches on Apple because I was in English and I did like a multimodal layer with wording, and so it was like all screwed up, and then Luke's like, all right, you just take the RSS feed and put it in and everything, and I'm already paying like $21 a year. Like I just signed up on the 13th of April. My dad's like, well, is this you? I'm like, it is me. But yeah, so I guess we can start and dive into the background a little.
So, background of Muffin Drop.
Either that or just
Just like
just as a whole.
I, so growing up, I moved around like all the time. My dad's job always had us moving around. And so before here, I had lived in, I was born in Chicago, moved to Florida, then moved to England after that. And then I was in Connecticut up until I went to college and then went to Penn State actually for a year and then transferred here to College of Charleston. And quite literally, like, all the places that I lived, Charleston was the first place where it was like, oh, that's home. And so it's been amazing ever since college how I've stayed here. I went home for a year during the pandemic because we graduated in 2020.
This is
So,
crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. What we had, any plan that you had went out the window. Plans didn't matter. I was supposed to move to New York, do my internship from the prior summer. That got all, nope, that's not going to happen. So I ended up going back to Connecticut. Didn't want to be there, and then ended up starting Muffin Drop a year into me being at home just by posting on Instagram being like, you guys want these muffins? And so it was amazing because obviously I'd gone to college here for 3 years. And so the natural progression of me coming back down here and building the business here just couldn't have felt more in line with where I wanted life to go. And none of it was forced. It really happened super naturally, but I'm so grateful because as you keep doing this podcast and you integrate more people who have small business in the Charleston community, I imagine you're going to hear the same thing over and over again, that the Charleston community is unlike anything else.
And it's like a small intertwined circle.
Yeah, people just like to support each other here. And after growing up in so many different places, I haven't felt this sense of community probably since I was really young. And people just really like to lift each other up. People love a founder story here, and people just love to see hard work. And, there's a lot of people who start things of their own in this town, and there's no better place than Charleston to rally the troops because it's really beautiful, like how people come together to support you here.
And I think, I don't mean to deviate, but I think part of it is like you have to have either a business or financial stability, because you see a lot of like millionaires who come in here with their sports cars or whatever, and I'm like, you have to have a business
Yeah.
because it's like the cost of living is so astronomical that it's like move to West Ashley or move an hour or two away so that you can live in Charleston or work in Charleston so that it's not like a tax burden
Yeah.
or anything. Yeah, so kind of going off of the COVID, is that what a lot of people did in terms of starting a business? Like using the fact that everybody's at home and so now everybody can use a lot of like audience or a lot of audience, but like a lot of social media traffic.
Well, what's interesting? It's like, I think that it ended up being a thing during the pandemic because we were on social media, right? But also people were so bored, being inside. I think that it was just this natural trigger for so many people to want to post their talents. And maybe people didn't even know they had any entrepreneurial bone in their body. But when you have that much time on your hands, right? So it was interesting because during the pandemic, I was, as I had said earlier, I was supposed to go to New York, ended up moving to Connecticut. My boyfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, which is pretty crazy, but that's why we had to reschedule
100%.
me randomly getting proposed to, totally out of pocket. But at the time, we were both kind of in this position of like, okay, now what do we do that the world seems to be ending? And so we actually started doing social media and website building for people. We had a bunch of like real estate clients in the Westport, Connecticut area. So that was my first taste of, okay, you can post on social and get clients, or you can, do things on your own entrepreneurially and
Yeah.
make money on your own. I had always done internships for other people and whatever. And so it was so cool I had to teach myself what entrepreneurialism even was. Like, you have to create your own prices. You have to do all the research into what your product even is. So I always am so grateful for the fact that we had started with the social and all of that in the website building, because that was the first thing that taught me doing anything on your own. And so then it was like this natural progression of, after a few months of doing that, I had been making these mini muffins for years because I had really terrible autoimmune disease problems.
Yeah.
And so it felt very natural for me, once I had developed all this social media website building stuff with him, to then post my own and be like, okay, well, I figured out how to sell that. Maybe I can sell these muffins, which are literally my life journey and a product. So I just posted one day, and you never know if something's gonna work or if anybody's gonna care. So I was so nervous, obviously. So I posted, I'm like, what if no one cares? And that day I got 30 orders. And I was like, it was one of those things that felt like a wish or prayer answered that I didn't even know existed. And because it's felt like purely me and a product. So I think the core of any of that is just putting yourself out there and working really hard, no matter what you think, what people say, and just taking the chance, because literally you don't know what's going to happen.
And then as part of it, so did you do Shopify or did you create your own website?
So I actually waited. So I started just through my old Instagram account. I used to have you know how everybody had their first Instagram account from, well, you're younger than me, but
Yeah.
Instagram got popular when I was in 8th grade. Yes, Instagram got popular then. So when I was like 14, I'm 27 now. That's when I got my first Instagram. It was at Emily Eldh. And so I had all of my friends and family, which I really do advise people to take this advice. That was on there. I was like, why would I start a new account if I don't have a following on it? Let's just like show my friends and family what I'm up to.
100%.
And they were my biggest supporters out the gate, for me to then be like, oh, people care about this product. And then I started the Muffin Drop Instagram, and I didn't start a Shopify account until probably, I would say, 6 months in, because I was just doing Venmo.
Oh, really?
People would order through DM. So I would post, the reason why it's called the Muffin Drop is called, not was, it's still very much around, is because I would do drops. Like, you know how people do shoe drops or clothing
Yeah.
drops? I would drop the muffins on, call it a Monday or something, and people would swipe up, order them, and I would drop them at their house. So, and they would order through DM, and then we'd Venmo. So it was like very much grassroots, like, pandemic stuff. And then it transpired to me talking to mentors and people saying Shopify was the best option, and made my website. But that was not until 6 or 7 months into it, which was, then I got a website. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is life changing. I don't have to deal with anything anymore. It just does it.
Well, I think part of my problem is because I want to sell vinyl online, but I don't have a distributor or I don't have a seller.
Vinyl? Like,
Yeah.
like,
Like the records.
okay, yeah. That's
And
cool.
it is. And well, part of me wants to take the eBay platform, like, but make it specifically for vinyl. So connect the seller and the buyer, and then use AI in there, and then work it like, hey, I want the Elton John Madman Across the Water vinyl. So like, okay, if this store has it, tell me they have it so I can go pick it up. But part of it is I don't have any web experience, and so I've been trying to launch this, and then part of me is like, well, I don't have any outsourcing, and I go and buy vinyl. But like, I go to the record stop, the store on King Street.
Yeah.
It's good, but they charge you like a crap ton of money. Like I bought 7 vinyl for like $200, like 40, 30, and $40 a piece. But on eBay it resells for like $6. So I'm like, there's no really profit. And then I've been selling books that I get at the public library for free, but it's like the shipping labels are like $4 a piece. So it's like you're only getting like 22 cents.
Well, you know what's cool about anything that you just said is like, the concepts, of course, but just the fact that you have that spirit to start, it has to start with something inside of you wanting to do something for
Yeah.
yourself. So like the fact that, you're trying things, like that's all you can really do until you find the thing that is going to work for you. Right. And, numbers, money, it all starts playing in. Once you're passionate about something, it all comes, because once you're so passionate, people want to dig into what you're passionate about. So it's kind of always this trust fall of like, believe in my product, so other people are going to believe in it too, even when you have like 2 cents in the bank and you need to like, you really just have to trust in what you're doing. And that's why passion plays such an incredible part, I believe, in what you're doing, because it's really is what generates the energy for something like income. And, it always comes and goes. Sometimes you're like, wow, I'm really like, everything's flowing. And then sometimes you're like, damn it, like,
I don't want to start the company or whatever.
yeah, exactly. And so, it's always this push and pull, but like just what you're saying, like you're clearly going to find your niche and find your thing, because you're already trying, and all you can do is try, right? A lot of people don't even try, and that's why they never find it. And so you're going to find your thing. whether it's vinyl or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this, clearly, the podcast is incredible. It came from having a lot of tumultuous years of figuring out my health and figuring out where it came from, and not just using medicine to mask whatever was going on and like trying to find the root of it. And so the root of it was dealing with what I was putting into my body, which was the foods that I was eating. And so that became this whole journey where I got so obsessed with like, okay, well, if I want to feel better, then I have to eat better, and I need to use a better product for this. So it became this like very investigative journey that I kind of became obsessed with. And in that journey, I loved baked goods throughout my life. Baking was always solace, but for friends and family, whenever I was like feeling down, I'd make these muffins, and they weren't even muffins to begin with. I was making banana bread and playing with different ingredients.
Oh, that's good.
Almond flour now and coconut flour. This also was probably, I'm 27 now, so it was probably like almost 10 years ago. So it wasn't this like norm as it is now. Now you can just go anywhere, find a recipe. So I really had to scour the internet for different materials that people were using and ingredients to make things. And so it took about 7 years for me to feel confident about my recipe, which actually happened during the pandemic because we were stuck inside and I had all this time to make this recipe. But it was this whole journey of like, as I got healthier, I was improving these muffins. So the muffins were like this energy conduit for like me improving my health. So once I was like feeling pretty stable, the muffins were really stable. It was this crazy journey. And so that made these muffins not only just like, okay, these are muffins, but they could heal other people and start people on, their journey with healing. And that's, I think, why it's such a cool thing to have this company. It's because it's more than just food. It's like, let's educate while we're doing it,
Yeah. And I think my question was, is being an entrepreneur mostly financial focused, or is it more passion focused?
For me, it's kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, the more passion I have, the more money I make. The more, like I always say, the entrepreneurial path is a self-development path. So the more you improve yourself, the bigger your business grows. And I have seen that time and time again with where finances lay with how I grow my business. And the more I improve like my nervous system, how I can handle stress and how I can handle random problems that arise, because when you're an entrepreneur, you cannot control, like you can't control any of it.
It's like an ocean, it just goes up and down.
Yeah.
But I think I don't mean to cut you off, but I think part of, at least people my age, it's like, all right, let's get the money, let's get this, and that. And I'm like, are you doing it for the money? Because I know a lot of people that they chase after things because it's money based, and they're like, all right, then I can retire whenever I'm what age. But I think a lot of people, it has to be, this is what I really love, and then the money's gonna follow.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of, well, I need to have $1 billion so I can go do whatever I want. But then again, it's like, well, time is your biggest asset, so be careful to not piss it away while you're doing whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's where your priorities lay. Like, I want to live, I want to enjoy, I want to inspire, right? And with that, it's energetics. It comes with energy is currency, currency is energy. So it's like the more that I do these things that better myself, it's in tandem with making the money. So if I just had only money in mind, the entire business wouldn't be what it is, because only being in it for money is so narrow, right? And I mean, a lot of people, maybe money is the thing that literally lights their lights their stuff up, right? Like maybe that's the thing that gets them inspired, and like not even out of a greed way. Like maybe they are so passionate about making money and telling people how to make money that would be a focus that actually benefits them to really care about the finances. That I just know that the more I do good with what I'm doing, the money will follow. So it's like they work in tandem for me. But if somebody's goal in life is only about money, like that's not me. I'm an all-encompassing type of lady.
And do you think that you learn about a lot of skills as you go on? Like if you learn about finance or whatever. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Let's say like if you didn't go to college, would you learn more skills versus if you did? Like how to start a business, how to take care of your books and everything else, like, and how to manage a team.
So I can't speak from, any standpoint of not going to school, because I did go to school, but I know amazing people who didn't go to school and they've built incredible lives for themselves. The funny thing about me is I didn't have any clue I was going to be an entrepreneur. So I also can't speak from the fact that I got all these skill sets of how to, I just, I was a comm major after changing my major like 4 times. And where that helped me is it really improved how I communicated messaging. So any building of a business is important to know how you're going to
Yeah.
message and how you're going to, display your mission and how you're going to communicate what you're doing. And so that part of schooling really did help me. I also have amazing parents who have always been in sales. And so I think just from growing up, they were really inspiring from a sales background. And I think I learned without trying, like they were just kind of a sales mindset team. And so I think that was integrated into me. I think my life path happened to have a lot of schooling in it, but I have no doubt that people are gritty enough to figure it out with or without.
Yeah, and do you think that part of it is like you need structure and like you don't need to do drugs or alcohol or this or that? Because I think part of it is like your mind is your biggest asset, so you have to be careful not to get clouded. Because I was watching Jack one time. He sat down on YouTube and was like telling his life story, and he's like, "All right, I did weed, I did vaping, and it like clouded his mind." So I'm like, "All right, that's something you just have to be careful with because."
Wait, Jack from Shaking Hands. Okay, Jack, shout out to you, bud.
And I think part of it is you just have to know yourself, but part of it is like you can't be like, all right, I'm a good. I don't mean to say like I'm not a good person, but part of it is like you have to know yourself and be like you have to know what you're worth
Yep.
and not just throw it in the towel and be like, all right, now I can go get intoxicated, and then it doesn't help your business or your personal life or whatever, and then it just goes downhill and you're where you were at the beginning.
I love that angle that you're coming from and how you're already developing that now, because a really big part of my health journey was the fact that alcohol was so normalized. It was
Yeah,
like in high school, where the kids at, like in family settings.
even here.
Yeah, oh, everywhere. And it's just so ritualized and normal in culture that I had to do a lot of deprogramming of what I thought was quote normal. And so it was actually amazing. When I was 23, I started my company, and it was that year I stopped drinking like pretty much altogether, just because I was like, I have so much to do.
Yeah,
I need to be on my game. Also, I never was a big drinker to begin with. I always tried to drink, and like my body, because I was dealing with so much
yeah,
autoimmune, which is health issues, was like, stop doing this. So I actually very like logically put two and two together, where I was like, every time I drink, my autoimmune starts flaring up. Why am I spending any sort of time on healing myself if I just want to go backwards when I drink or do anything like that? So I quickly, and also my fiance doesn't drink. And so that was really helpful because it's who you
yeah,
keep around you, right? It's who you keep. The company that you keep is really important for the values that you develop too. So yeah, it was amazing because once I stopped, I started attracting people who also didn't. And that was just so beneficial for my business, because people really were about their business, right?
yeah.
And also, I didn't need that drinking anymore. It didn't do anything good for me.
So now,
I'm a
not
mocktail
yeah.
queen now.
Now that you're engaged, how is it kind of, since you said you don't drink, how has it kind of worked? Is it kind of like, all right, now that my boyfriend doesn't drink, we're clean and we're sober? Is it a matter of like, all right, the temptation's still there?
No, zero temptation. Like I think what makes our relationship so strong, it was never built off of any use. Like it was just like our values together were so equal. So for us, like, we just find other enjoyment in other things. So I think it's just great to have somebody who supports you in that sort of path that you're walking down, and it just strengthens it. But yeah, so definitely no temptation with drinking. Like it's fun. We actually laugh how little we, but I know for a lot of people it takes time, and I get that. I really do get it. And we're in the best time right now because mocktails and adaptogenic drinks are
Yeah,
really popular. So I definitely tap into some adaptogenic and stuff like that. I also had, with my health issues when I was younger, I actually had a medical marijuana thing. So I already had tried all that, did that life.
didn't work.
I just grew out of it. No, it did work. It actually really did for the period of time that I was super sick, because it would give me a lot of anxiety and stuff. So it actually helped me during that time. But once again, we grew out of it, and I needed to be on my P's and Q's. Is that what they say when I started my business? So I'm just a clear-minded chick now.
Do you watch any entrepreneur videos or anything?
I feel like I'm constantly on motivational TikTok. Like TikTok, Instagram, like the only content that I get is either spirituality or entrepreneurial.
Really?
Like it's all I consume. Like it really is. I am a big YouTube girl, but usually I use that for spirituality and astrology and stuff like that. Right now I'm actually starting a new side biz as well for
An
astrology.
additional?
Oh yeah, your girl has too many interests. So I've been doing birth chart readings and the studying of people's astrology for people, and that's been really cool because it's like a different facet of myself, which is another healing modality, which has been awesome.
Part of me is like, oh, yesterday I was watching Diary of a CEO with the mobster.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I believe in God and everything. And he's like, well, some guy like read him Proverbs or whatever in the Bible. And gotta be careful. I think part of like faith is good, but part of it's like you have to be careful of like, hey, there's a higher power, but you have to be careful because I used to like not, I don't know, I was like really like at a dark period and then I was like, okay, I don't really believe in God. And then I like second half of freshman year, I'm like, all right, let's go try it out and see what it is.
Let's go try this thing
See
out.
what it is again, and then part of me was like, well, there's no real evidence that we had a God on Earth. So part of me is like questioning it, and then being like, oh, okay, maybe there is a person that's higher power. I don't know, but even still today, I question it. I'm like, there's no bodies. How is there? How can you believe in something? And then part of me is like, well, it's a government scam, and they want to get your money and everything else. Because like when I was at church when I was little, I was like, oh, the government's just taking my money. You put the money in the basket and the government takes it. I just thought that everybody's like, oh, we go to church because the government told us to go to church.
Great though.
I didn't really
And
understand it.
things.
Yeah.
I think it's that is the entrepreneurial spirit to question authority and to question things, right? Like, and also the thing about me is I grew up in church, I grew up in all that stuff. And then what happened was as I grew into myself, it was a totally different language. I wasn't now attached to more religious beliefs. I was more attached to spirituality and like source being within the earth, and like I'm a very sort of earthy girl, and so I just only developed it in the last few years that was really strong for manifesting purposes.
Yeah.
And you know, if there's a everybody calls it whatever they call it in their life, but for me it's really amazing for me to trust in the universe because it helps my nervous system, and to know that I'm always supported and by whatever that source is. And you know, I definitely don't like to label it too strong because I don't know, you know, we don't know what guides the universe. All I know is that if I work every day to be the best of my ability and the best of what I can do while trusting that there is some greater power, some greater source, it leads me to where I want to go. And also, I always say manifestation is equal parts action and magic. So, and maybe if we were to speak in religious terms, it would be action and prayer.
Yeah.
So you have to be doing the work to also receive the prayers that you're asking for. A lot of people do it one stream, which is, okay, I'm going to pray and then just hope it shows up. Like life is about putting in the work. You have to put in the effort because everything is energy, back to what we talked about. So if you're
Yeah.
putting the energy towards something, then it kind of can work together. But yeah, I think a lot of this generation now is like, let me just put it out there and hope, you know, but you gotta put some work into it, right? But yeah, I think that you questioning authority is great. I mean, you don't have to believe anything you don't want to believe.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Now this is gonna be two questions. So one is kind of going off what you said of putting it out there and then hoping and praying. Do you think that my generation and your generation are kind of the same? Meaning we're like, hey, let's say I go post a story about F1 and I'm like, all right, Clarion just won at Australia or whatever, and then I'm like, all right, if you follow me, you know, you're gonna look at the story and be like, all right, and then me as the person with the account's gonna be like, all right, this got 93 people looking at it or whatever. Do you think a lot of it is? I mean, I see it as part of like social media is great, but then part of it's like a double-edged sword because it's like, all right, it takes away from you being able to be productive because it's like, all right, I spent 6 hours on it, spent 3 hours on TikTok, and then it's like, well, you could have been reading a book, you could have been going to the gym, you could have been sleeping or eating or whatever. And part of me is like, it's good, but then part of me is like, it's not good because like I listen to Scott Galloway a lot, and he's like, all right, you know, you're constantly having all this quote unquote vomit where it's like it's like a instant feed where it's like people have already done better than you, and so you feel depressed, and you're like, oh, like why can't I do this? And I think it's like good, but then part of it's like a little bit bad, but
Yeah. One thing about me is I'm never going to lead with fear. I'm not a fear monger. I'm not fear based. So the thing that I will say about social media is like, it has done so many incredible things for me.
yeah,
Started Muffin Drop. You and I talk via
100%.
social media. I have so many funny parasocial relationships where I'm friends through people, through social media with people. Obviously, there's a dark side, a shadow side, a negative side to everything in life.
100%.
I think where we can find the best out of something is, you know, balance is always key. And so I love to have a book on hand while I also dig into social media because there does have to be a balance of what you're doing. But I think if you're really integrated into your life and like you're passionate about something, you have to do it, right? And work and whatever
Yeah.
that is. And it just so happens that social media is now integrated into that. And so I think it's just about figuring out where your priorities lie. I think what is difficult is that you guys got it so young. Like things like technology.
And there wasn't like a restriction for like, hey, we give you a phone at 18 or 16.
Yeah,
It was like
exactly.
when you're in middle school and that's like exploring the open web or
Yeah. How old are you
whatever,
now?
18.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So like 19, like even when I was 19, like I was just getting into college and social was like we were in it, but like even the influencer scene wasn't as massive as it is now. Like I think standards started getting put on Instagram and stuff like that were just so unattainable around that time, which was like what, 8 years ago or something like that.
Thereabouts.
Yeah, and so I think it just, is everything with technology is just gonna keep progressing. It's about like we just need to flow with it and figure out where we fit in it and also where we also fit in real life. Like we need real connection. We need real
And I think
conversations.
I think part of it is people not knowing what they want, meaning like, okay, I can hide behind a screen and not go actually talk to somebody in person,
Yeah.
which I think is what we lost during COVID because everybody's like, all right, I'm in the corner, I'm in my room, and I look at this feed of people and I feel depressed. And I get that too, where I'm like, all right,
Oh,
that, but also it's like, oh, I have 7,000 followers, and then it's like, oh, well, I only have 356 followers, so it's like advancing up, but it's like, who really cares?
yeah.
What are they gonna do? Not tell you? Like just it's just like concerning yourself over the littlest things, and it's like it doesn't really matter.
Something that I've realized just through starting accounts out of nothing, doing whatever out of nothing is you can do so much with a smaller following as long as they're super like they're super into it. Like if they're really about your mission, really about who you are, whatever. If you just have even like a quote unquote smaller community who's really interested in what you're saying, like it can be one of the most impactful things ever. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people are actually with really massive followings because of how ads have turned out and like paid partnerships. A lot of followers are not trusting as they once were. And so there has been this move towards smaller creators and investing in that because they know it's more authentic. So I think now more than ever is a great time for people wanting to build something from nothing because people are kind of craving that authenticity again after so many years of it being like all about like the look and how big something is. So anybody who's listening, be inspired to start something right now because people are craving that more intimate connection again.
and a lot of it is also communication as well.
Yeah, communication for sure.
And I think my other question was because I know I asked this with like two girls online, and they're like, "Well, no, not really. Is it coming from a girl's perspective? Is it better to have like let's say a $500 Gucci versus like memories?" Because I think part of me is like, okay, like if I lose everything tomorrow, am I gonna be happy? And part of it's probably like yes, because you don't need all the materialistic things, and then part of it's like, well, you're gonna die anyway, and you're not gonna have it. So I'm like, it's fun, but then part of me is like, what's the point?
Totally. No, I like you're actually speaking to the perfect person for this. Like, I'm just about soul-based connection. Like, for me, all the other stuff is awesome because it makes the lived experience
Yeah.
fun. But like at the core, it's just about who my true people are, what the good vibes are. That really is me. Like, as long as I have my feet to put on grass or grass to put my feet on, and my dog and like my best friends, obviously like my family, like that's what's important to me. Obviously, if 500 Gucci, bring it in. That's so
Yeah.
fun. Like, let's go. But obviously, if we're to die tomorrow, I want my real peeps and all
Yeah.
the stuff that matters, right? So, but everybody has different values, and no
100%.
poo poo to whatever. Like, if it's what makes you tick, it is. But like, if you're talking to me, that's my core stuff.
I think part of the reason why I look at it that way is I'm like, all right, like same thing with coffee. I don't drink coffee, but part of me is like, if you're gonna spend $8, go put it into the stock or go reinvest it in your company.
Can't relate, not gonna lie. I
Well,
love a good coffee.
part of
That's
it,
part of what makes
yeah,
me tick. I love a good warm beverage that I can get from that lights me up. But I totally know what you're saying.
yeah,
But this is back to like, what are our priorities? How do they differ? And just letting it rock.
and like part of me is like, well, you're gonna throw the cup away. You're not anything to like really help you like advance forward in life. It's like, all right, paper cup goes in the landfill, doesn't help you progress further.
I get you.
And it's like the same, I don't know, like, because I watch Kevin O'Leary a lot, and he's like, well, if you make $60,000, you spend 20% of it on lunch. So it's like, all right, all it takes you is 99 cents for the bread and the
Yeah.
ham and this and that. And I'm like, all right. And then like, I'll just watch whatever. And then I'll watch like Guy Raz, who's like, all right, here's this person, like Tom Hanks or Billy Idol or whatever. And like, part of it's just getting in the headspace. Because I started this, so I started this in September. So it's like 4 to 5 months. And then, well, part of it is because I listened to public radio a lot when I was 11 or 12. And Guy Raz would come on at like Friday or Saturday at like 1 or 2 o'clock. And so he'd be like, all right, here's how I built this. And he'd bring the guest on. He'd have Damian John and Herb Keller and the founder of Specialized Bikes. And a lot of it was like, all right, here's how I'm humble. And then here's how I blow up this big company. And here's how I have all this money. And it was just a lot of learning it and being like, okay. Because when you're younger, you don't understand a lot of it. And then when you get older, you're like, oh, that actually is really important at how to build a business or how to do this or that. And it's just like you don't understand it when you're little, and then when you get older, like 19 or 18, you're like, oh, I'm an adult. I need to put my boots on the ground and run or just
Yeah.
walk and figure it out so you're not like, oh, I'm not doing anything. It's a matter of like figuring it out.
Yeah, listening to founders and having mentors, like I feel like a lot of my life, and before I even knew I was going to have a company, any of that, I always found a lot of solace in mentors and just like people who inspired me. And like the conversations are everything. Like what we're doing now, like conversations are so important, and hearing how people did things just to be inspired, like to stay inspired, like listening to podcast, whatever it is, conversations are the most important part of building anything, and taking little nuggets from different people and little things. Because I was even telling one of the girls who worked for me yesterday when we grabbed coffee, like getting mentors is amazing because you can learn a lot. You don't have to take everything.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's where people get intimidated. They see other people who've done more than them, and then that makes them feel they're not doing enough. At the end of the day, all that matters is how you want to do something, how you feel something is right. So as long as you're having the right conversations and you're pulling from this and you're pulling from that, that's all you need to keep pushing yourself along. And like so many people want to help, and so many people are interested in what you're doing, and just staying curious and having conversations is so great and important for building anything, really. Like it's all about the people who you interact with and how you stay inspired, for sure.
And do you think that mentorship has to have a price on it?
No, absolutely not. I think the best mentorship doesn't have a price on it. There's obviously like, so I feel like a big thing nowadays is coaching and how people get into coaching groups and things like that. People can gain great stuff from it, but I think a lot of it is just the authentic, integrity-based connections that you make with people who just see what you're doing, think it's awesome, and they want to share some knowledge. Like, I don't know, I love meeting with people who've worked for me or with me, and just having conversations about their future, and like having them ask whatever questions they want to ask, because what's the point of holding in all your knowledge?
Yeah.
There's no point, because it also helps you too. You're like getting reminded of things that happened.
Well, because like I asked Jose Goldner, who's Jack Moran's um mentor, and he's like, all right, he's like, older people, they want to get paid and they value their time and their money, and I'm like, if you're older and you have a lot of knowledge, isn't the point of a mentor to help you and to give you free knowledge and free information versus being like, all right, kid, give me $100 and I'm gonna teach you this?
I think there's a balance. I think there's literal coaching programs where you can get involved and it can be integrative, and like you're on a weekly basis, or maybe you get an hour-long call that you're like, people are coaches, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's a totally different thing in like mentorship and like finding people who just want to help, and what we were talking about earlier. They're two different things. Not everything has a price on it, for sure. And I think the things that are going to help you best, you'll know whether you need to pay for it or whether it's just some authentic thing. Nothing should feel like it stresses you out or it feels icky. All of it should feel good, all of it should feel like, wow, like was genuine, like, and you'll know whether you need to pay for something or whether it's just a connection
Yeah.
that you need to maintain. Yeah, we're in a time where it is amazing that people can build coaching systems and yada yada, but you'll know if it's one or
And
the
I
other.
think part of it is like, at least from my experience so far, part of it's like, just take the knowledge. You don't have to, because kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be all about the money.
It
Like,
definitely doesn't have to be about all.
my thing is like, if you're gonna die tomorrow and you're 68 or whatever, I'd rather you give me the knowledge now, considering the fact that I'm 19 and you, like, let's say the person 68 who I want coaching from, I'd be like, just give me the knowledge. You're gonna leave sooner rather than later. You don't know when you're gonna leave, so it's like, why why go give somebody or charge somebody a certain amount of money for your service when you've built up the network and the knowledge? And I get part of it's like, well, you need to have a fluctuant amount of money in order to live and yada yada yada. But part of me is like, just do it because you feel good and you want to pass it on to somebody else.
Yeah.
Not just being selfish and being like, well, I wanna earn $100 today and blah blah blah. Like,
Once again, it goes back to you'll know in your heart of hearts the genuine relationships of the people that want to help you and the ones that are transactional. And I think it's always calling back within yourself when you're pushing too hard for something that doesn't feel good, or if it's flowing and it feels like, wow, we have a genuine connection. That won't be money based, like it'll be a relationship where somebody just wants to help you. And so not everyone wants to help you, but there's a lot of people that do. So you'll know you'll know when it's transactional or if it's not.
and was a lot of your journey self-taught, or is that a lot of
Totally.
actual?
Self-taught, being in rooms it goes back to just staying inspired. I flock to places that interest me. I obsess over information that interests me. Like even back to the astrology that I'm doing now, all self-taught, because I will spend hours upon hours consuming information because it's back to being passionate and interested. And yeah, even muffins, baking, all of that was hours of just being obsessed with how can I make this amazing. So I think you can do so much that's self-taught. Obviously, my life has been a, culmination of different schooling and different people I've met. And so that's also learned, right? But I definitely didn't go to any like training for baking school or go to official astrology. These are just things that when you're passionate about something and you want to learn it, you're going to learn it, right? And so trusting in yourself to gather the data and get obsessed.
I'm gonna experiment with this and see how it goes, but I kind of want to do like a reflection minute, and then like, you watch Diary of a CEO at all?
I've dabbled.
Part of me wants to be like, okay, let's ask a question and then start it, and then part of me is like, well, not, but I'm just gonna start it.
Let's just try it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Do you have any closing remarks? And I think part of this needs to be like, okay, the guest needs to ask me questions because I had Professor Wyman on, and then I had Chase Davis another day, and we were engaging, but it was more of like pivotal questions where he was asking me questions. And I think part of it's good because it has to be a two-way kind of conversation. And then besides me being like, okay, here's a question, blah blah blah. And part of why I do this is I'm like, I don't need it to be a script. Like because if you looked at a transcript, you'd be like, boring, don't want to listen. Like I get that if you listen to Impulsive or whatever, it's like, oh, we have our script, hit on these points, talk about his background, this or that. I'm like, it has to flow naturally, else people are gonna be like,
no, I think it's amazing how you just kind of let the questions come to you and you listen in order to formulate your next questions. I don't think you need to switch up whatever just because other people are doing it, like stay true to what you're doing because I've appreciated how you've kind of let this just organically flow. You can feel one as a listener or somebody who gets interviewed when something is too thought out or too transcribed. And I love when things can organically flow. So I just think it's awesome that you're doing this at 19, it's only going to get better the more you keep at anything. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, to be honest.
is that kind of our last remark or closing statement?
Yeah, that can be totally the closing.
All right. So kind of a reflection minute. What went well in the week and what didn't go well in the week? Either that or just like both personally and both within the business or just as a whole.
Oh my gosh, closing remark. I actually just came from last night. I had my second astrology class where I taught a group of people the basics of astrology to develop the language for it so they can go out in their life and continue a lifelong journey with it. And it's just very cool going from a business that I've built for the last 3.5 years, 4 years. That's very like I have a product and now we sell it to and building community with that to now I'm teaching and leading, and it's really fulfilling to see people's light bulbs go off and to lead a group of people with knowledge and to share all of the knowledge I've been acquiring for so long. So it'll be amazing once I start integrating stuff like this into MuffinDrop and maybe leading groups for autoimmune health or how to eat better. And so it's a part of myself that I've unlocked now that is the teacher, and I love that. And I think the entrepreneurial journey is trying everything. Like literally try everything, even if it scares you. If it scares you.
Yeah.
Please do it if it scares you because that's when you're going to unlock the coolest thing. So I just love how life, when you let it unfold, it shows you things you never thought you were going to do. Like last night I got home, I'm like, I'm teaching astrology classes and getting like, it's so cool, you know? So yeah, that's an amazing thing. Obviously got engaged this week, but, and then doing this is also
Yeah,
awesome. Talking, you know, it's great. I love it. I appreciate you having me on.
yeah, of course.
My question is, how has your biggest quote unquote failure actually led you to your biggest blessing? Because that is honestly what journey has been. My biggest hardships have led me to the biggest wins, and not giving up when things get hard, and actually knowing through every time things get hard, it actually is leading me to a much brighter, more exciting path. And we give up when the going gets tough, but it's really like the sunshine after the rain that is like always promised. And if we just hold on when things get really difficult, we're always going to get blessed at the end of it. And that is the core of my entire life journey. And I would be curious what the next person is like. If you were to look back, what is your biggest failure, hardest time, and how has it led you to something better? And how can you inspire and impact others with that knowledge?
So taking the negative and creating the positive.
Always. That's me. I am a half glass, what is it? Glass half full type of girl.
Yeah.
I am a, how can we find the sunshine? Nothing hard is ever going to keep me down. Like we're always going to transform and get back up. And if you can have that mindset and get through things, you can literally do anything, build anything. Like in regards to business, I'm like, no wonder if it gets hard, I'm just going to get stronger. Like we're going to do this whether or not you think I can. Like we are doing this, you know?
It's like walking through the mud and not caring if you're dirty.
Yeah, like get dirty, get muddy, like life's hard, whatever, you know? Like let it be hard, get back up, we can rock it.
And is that kind of the trooper mindset a little bit
Maybe.
of like being like, you know what, screw it. If it's raining, we still have to work.
Yeah, cause well, not even just that, because I do believe in taking care of yourself, you know, and like you have to take care of yourself in order to heal. But the mindset really comes from we let our circumstances keep us down. And I think this comes from me healing myself of autoimmune disease when I was told by doctors I was never going to heal. And
And it's like prove you wrong.
yeah, like, yeah, maybe that's what it is. I have a problem with people telling me I can't do things. So I'm like, how can I show you? I'm going to do it anyways. I don't know what that is. That comes from something in childhood. But regardless, it's like you can do anything no matter how hard it gets. And that's what I want to let
And I
people
think
ride with.
this is like me personally. I watch like David Goggins a lot, and he's like, "Well,
Yeah,
you need to run in
yeah.
the rain, and everybody's a pussy, and blah blah blah." I'm like, okay,
I'm not as extreme as that, but I do like how he comes from a mindset of like you're your own worst enemy. You can beat that voice inside your head
yeah.
because you're always gonna have it. I always say your wins are just as equal to the things that are quote unquote failures. So it's like you need those to even know what a win is, right? You always need the shadow to see the light. So I'm big on like the dichotomy of both being just as important as each other. Even though like one seems happy and exciting,
And no, there's
most
like dull.
times, yeah, well, you need it to move forward. You just always need it.
Any closing remarks?
No, we closed it. We closed.
That was episode number 11. Hopefully, I'll either drop this today.
Speedy McGee.
Well, I'll drop episode 10 either today, or I'll drop episode 10 on Monday at 5, or I do it Monday, Wednesday. I'm trying to figure out what days work and the times. 5 o'clock. I'm like, all right, just drop it, and because I'll edit it and then I'll set the time, and then I don't have to go in the day before and drop it.
Are you gonna record this at home now that you're gonna go home?
Yeah, it's already been recorded.
Or no, I'm saying as in the podcast. Are you gonna keep going? Like now that
Yeah,
you're going home?
hopefully.
Okay, cool.
I have like one of my friends, shout out to Daniel Berlin. He goes to Babson. He just launched Dirty Gut. It's kind of what you're doing. It's a probiotic, but it's like chocolate.
Good for him.
And he's already like gotten into social media. And then another friend of mine from high school, they do like government subsidiaries, and so they're like they get government contracts and they like take all the government equipment like computers from schools and whatever. And hopefully I can get those on the podcast. And then Vin 909, which is a local pizza place in Annapolis.
Oh, amazing.
The Alex owner, the owner Alex, I've been talking with him, and he's like, well, when are you guys gonna come in and bring your gear? And in my head, I'm like, we need to go to a studio. I don't have the gear.
You
But
should just get that that once you feel like you're ready for it, that can plug into your computer because then you really only.
Oh, like
Yeah.
just a microphone?
Yeah, you could even just get mini mics and record this thing. I
Really?
mean, yeah, just do whatever. Get this audio captured. You got it. I mean, I think the whole point is just making sure you're producing something, not getting limited by the equipment because truly this is amazing how we have this studio, but get some mini mic, strap it on and start recording. I think like you'll do an amazing job. As long as you have something on your computer that you
Yeah.
like edit and
I mean, I do Riverside, which is like I'll take out the fluff and whatever else, and then I'll put the intro in, and then whatever else, and then I just upload it and put a caption in.
yeah, awesome. I think just keep doing it, right? Don't slow your roll. You got this.
So, as we said before, shout out to Jack Moran and his podcast Shaking Hands, and then where can people find you on socials?
So my personal Instagram is It's Emily Eldh. I show a lot of like lifestyle, behind the scenes, yada yada. TheMuffinDrop is my muffin company we've talked about. And then I just started my astrology account. Hello, Emily. And then the new account's called @SparkofM. So those are all my Instagrams.
Is that 4 or is that 3?
No, I'm saying sorry. That was my astrology one. And then my website for muffins is themuffindrop.com.
Any new launches at all or no?
No,
That are
right
upcoming?
now I'm doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's cooking. You guys will just have to stay and see what I'm working on. But for the meantime, I'm around.
You can find me at McPartland Spencer. That's my Instagram handle. And then, I don't know, maybe we'll do an episode or a part 2.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. True. When I've got more to tell you about Muffin Drop, we'll be back.
100%. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.